The morning sun cast long shadows across the training compound as Petty Officer Second Class Maria Santos adjusted her rifle scope for the third time. The weight of 24 pairs of eyes pressed down on her shoulders like a heavy pack during a 20-mile march. SEAL Team 7 had been informed yesterday that they would be receiving a new sniper attachment for their upcoming deployment to Afghanistan, but nobody expected the Navy to send them a woman. Commander Jake Mitchell stood behind the firing line with his arms crossed, his weathered face showing the skepticism that had been brewing since Maria walked through the gate an hour earlier. At 38, Mitchell had led more combat operations than he cared to count, and in his experience, snipers were made through years of battlefield experience, not through training exercises and qualification scores. "Santos, you've got 10 minutes to prove you belong here," Mitchell called out, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had earned respect through blood and sweat. "My boys have been working together for 3 years. We don't have time to babysit anyone who can't pull their weight." Maria nodded without taking her eye off the scope. She had heard variations of this speech at every assignment since graduating from sniper school 18 months ago. The doubt was nothing new, but the stakes felt higher here. SEAL teams were the elite of the elite, and earning their respect would require more than just hitting targets on a shooting range. Chief Petty Officer Danny Rodriguez, the team's senior sniper, stepped forward with a tablet in his hands. Rodriguez had been running sniper operations for 8 years and had confirmed kills in 4 different countries. His reputation preceded him, and Maria knew that his opinion would carry significant weight with the rest of the team. "Standard qual course," Rodriguez announced, reading from the tablet. 12 targets at varying distances, from 300 to 800 meters. Mixed positions, some concealed, some moving. You've got 15 minutes to engage all targets. Minimum score for passing is 10 hits. The other team members gathered around the observation deck, some checking their watches, others placing quiet bets on how many targets Maria would actually hit. Petty Officer First Class Tommy Chun, the team's demolitions expert, had already written her off as another desk jockey who looked good on paper, but would fold under pressure. "She's probably never fired a shot in anger," Chin muttered to his teammate, Petty Officer Second Class Marcus Williams. "Book smart doesn't mean battle ready." Williams, who served as the team's communications specialist, remained silent but shared Chin's skepticism. He had seen too many promising candidates wash out when the pressure mounted, and adding an unproven sniper to their tight-knit unit could get people killed. Maria settled into her prone position behind the Barrett M82 rifle, feeling the familiar comfort of the weapon's weight against her shoulder. The .50 caliber rifle was overkill for most of the targets she would engage today, but Rodriguez had deliberately chosen it to test her ability to handle the weapon's significant recoil and thunderous report. The first target appeared at 400 meters, a silhouette that popped up for exactly 3 seconds before disappearing behind cover. Maria's breathing slowed as she acquired the target through her scope, her finger finding the trigger's breakpoint with practiced ease. The rifle roared, sending a massive round downrange with devastating accuracy. The target crumpled instantly. "Target 1, center mass hit," Rodriguez called out, making a note on his tablet. His voice remained neutral, but Maria caught the slight surprise in his tone. The second target emerged at 600 meters, this time moving laterally across an open area. Maria tracked the movement smoothly, leading the target by the precise amount needed to compensate for the bullet's flight time. Her second shot echoed across the range, and the moving target stopped abruptly as the round found its mark. Commander Mitchell stepped closer to the firing line, his initial skepticism beginning to waver. The shots Maria was making required not just marksmanship skills, but an understanding of ballistics and environmental factors that came from extensive training and natural ability. Target 3 presented itself at the maximum range of 800 meters, partially concealed behind wooden barriers that simulated urban cover. Maria adjusted her scope's elevation, accounting for the bullet drop over the extended distance. The wind had picked up slightly, requiring her to make additional corrections to ensure accuracy. She squeezed the trigger with the same deliberate control she had shown on the previous shots. Through her scope, she watched the round impact exactly where she had aimed, sending splinters of wood flying as the target was destroyed. 800 meters, concealed target, confirmed hit, Rodriguez announced, his professional demeanor beginning to show cracks of genuine interest. The remaining targets came in rapid succession, each one designed to test a different aspect of Maria's skills. Moving targets, pop-up silhouettes, partially concealed enemies, and long-range static positions all fell to her precise shooting. With each successful engagement, the murmur of conversation from the observation deck grew quieter. Petty Officer First Class Steve Jackson, the team medic, found himself impressed despite his initial reservations. Jackson had worked with snipers in Iraq and Syria, and he recognized the level of skill Maria was demonstrating. The consistency of her shots, the speed of her target acquisition, and the calm way she handled the powerful rifle indicated training and talent that went far beyond basic qualification standards. 12 targets, 12 hits, Rodriguez called out as Maria engaged the final silhouette at 500 meters. Total time, 8 minutes and 42 seconds. Commander Mitchell walked over to where Maria was beginning to clean her rifle, his expression unreadable. The rest of the team had fallen silent, processing what they had just witnessed. Perfect scores on qualification courses were rare, and completing the course in under 9 minutes while maintaining 100% accuracy was almost unheard of. Not bad, Santos, Mitchell said, his tone carrying a grudging respect. But hitting stationary targets on a known range is different from combat. My concern isn't whether you can shoot, it's whether you can make the hard decisions when lives are on the line. Maria looked up from her rifle cleaning kit, meeting the commander's gaze directly. With respect, sir, I understand your concerns. I know I haven't proven myself in combat yet, but I'm here to learn from the best and contribute to the mission's success. I won't let the team down. Chief Rodriguez approached with his tablet, reviewing the data from Maria's shooting performance. Commander, these scores are impressive. Her group sizes are tighter than mine, and I've been doing this for almost a decade. Whatever training she received, it was thorough. The team's automatic weapons specialist, Petty Officer Second Class Alex Turner, had remained quiet during the demonstration, but now he spoke up. Turner had been wounded in Afghanistan 2 years earlier when their previous sniper had failed to eliminate a machine gun position that was pinning down their squad. Scores are one thing, Turner said, his voice carrying the weight of hard experience. But can she make the shot when her teammates are bleeding out and enemy fire is coming from 3 directions? Can she take a life when it matters? Maria understood Turner's question went beyond marksmanship. The psychological pressure of combat sniping was immense, requiring operators to make split-second decisions that could determine whether their teammates lived or died. She had trained extensively for these scenarios, but training could only simulate so much of the real thing. I've trained for those situations, Maria replied honestly. But I know that until I've experienced combat, there's always going to be questions about how I'll perform. All I can ask for is the chance to prove myself when it counts. Lieutenant Junior Grade Kevin Park, the team's assistant officer, had been taking notes throughout the demonstration. As the newest member of the leadership team, Park understood what it felt like to have to prove oneself to established operators who had already built strong working relationships. Commander, Park said, addressing Mitchell, her technical skills are clearly solid. Maybe we should focus on tactical integration and see how she works with the team during mission planning and rehearsals. Mitchell nodded slowly, recognizing the wisdom in Park's suggestion. Technical proficiency was only part of what made an effective team member. Communication, decision-making under pressure, and the ability to adapt to changing situations were equally important qualities that could only be evaluated through realistic training scenarios. Rodriguez set up some tactical scenarios for tomorrow, Mitchell ordered. I want to see how Santos integrates with the team during complex operations. Moving targets, multiple objectives, time pressure, and communication requirements. As the team began to disperse, Petty Officer Williams approached Maria while she was packing up her equipment. Williams had been quiet during the demonstration, but his role as communications specialist meant he understood the importance of clear, concise information sharing during operations. "Hey, Santos," Williams said, extending his hand. "I'm Marcus Williams, comms. That was some solid shooting today. Looking forward to seeing how you handle the tactical stuff tomorrow." Maria shook his hand gratefully, recognizing that Williams was extending an olive branch. Acceptance from the team would come gradually, earned through consistent performance and reliability rather than any single demonstration of skill. "Thanks, Marcus. I appreciate the welcome. I know everyone has concerns about the new addition, but I'm committed to earning my place here." Chen walked over to join the conversation, his earlier skepticism replaced by cautious curiosity. "Where did you train?" he asked. "Those weren't beginner shots you were making out there." "Basic sniper course at Quantico, then advanced precision marksmanship at Fort Benning," Maria replied. "After that, I spent 6 months with a Marine Scout sniper team in 29 Palms, learning fieldcraft and urban operations." Chen nodded appreciatively. The training pipeline Maria described was rigorous and well-respected within the special operations community. Marines were known for producing exceptional snipers, and their training programs were among the most challenging in the military. Chief Rodriguez finished reviewing his notes and approached the small group that had formed around Maria. As the senior enlisted sniper on the team, his opinion would significantly influence how quickly Maria was accepted by the other operators. "Santos, your fundamentals are excellent," Rodriguez said. "Tomorrow we're going to test your ability to work within our tactical framework. You'll be paired with Jackson for a 2-man reconnaissance mission, followed by precision fire support during a simulated assault." Jackson stepped forward, offering Maria a brief smile. As the team medic, he had worked with numerous snipers over his career and understood the critical role they played in mission success. "We'll brief the scenario tonight after chow. The targets will be more challenging than today, and you'll need to coordinate with multiple team elements simultaneously." Maria nodded, feeling both nervous and excited about the opportunity to demonstrate her tactical abilities. The shooting demonstration had been important, but tomorrow's exercises would test the skills that truly mattered in combat operations. Commander Mitchell watched the interaction between Maria and his team members, pleased to see the beginnings of professional acceptance. Building unit cohesion was always a challenge when introducing new personnel, but Maria's performance today had at least opened the door for further evaluation. "Santos," Mitchell called out as the group began to break up. "Good shooting today, but remember, this was the easy part. Tomorrow we find out if you can think on your feet and adapt when things go wrong." As Maria walked back to the barracks to stow her gear, she reflected on the day's events. The shooting demonstration had gone better than she had dared hope, but she knew that Mitchell was right about tomorrow being more challenging. Combat operations were rarely straightforward, and the ability to adapt to unexpected situations was what separated truly effective operators from those who simply looked good in training. The weight of expectation was heavy, but Maria felt ready for the challenge. She had trained her entire career for opportunities like this, and she was determined to prove that she belonged among the elite warriors of SEAL Team 7. Tomorrow would bring new tests and new opportunities to demonstrate her value to the team, and she intended to meet every challenge with the same precision and dedication she had shown on the shooting range today. Equipment one final time. The tactical exercise Chief Rodriguez had designed would test every skill she had learned during her years of sniper training, and she knew that today would determine whether SEAL Team 7 would accept her as a true member or continue to view her as an untested outsider. The scenario briefing had taken place the previous evening in a cramped conference room that smelled of coffee and weapon lubricant. Rodriguez had laid out a complex operation that simulated a high-value target capture mission in an urban environment, complete with multiple buildings, civilian populations, and enemy forces equipped with modern weapons and communication systems. The target is a terrorist cell leader who's holed up in a 3-story building downtown. Rodriguez had explained, pointing to a detailed scale model of the training facility. Intelligence suggests he's got 6 to 8 fighters with him, plus an unknown number of civilians being held as human shields. Jackson, who would be serving as Maria's spotter and team leader for the reconnaissance phase, had studied the mission parameters with the intensity of someone who had conducted similar operations in real combat zones. His experience in Iraq and Syria had taught him that success in urban operations depended on precise intelligence, careful coordination, and the ability to adapt when plans inevitably went wrong. "Our job is to establish an overwatch position here," Jackson had said, tapping a spot on the model that represented a 4-story office building approximately 600 meters from the target location. "We need to identify enemy positions, count personnel, and provide precision fire support when the assault team makes their move." The mission would unfold in 3 phases, each designed to test different aspects of Maria's tactical abilities. During Phase 1, she and Jackson would infiltrate their overwatch position without being detected by the role players representing enemy sentries. Phase 2 required them to conduct detailed surveillance while maintaining communication with the assault team. The final phase would test Maria's ability to provide accurate supporting fire while distinguishing between legitimate targets and non-combatants. Now, as Maria adjusted her ghillie suit and checked the radio frequency settings on her communications equipment, she felt the familiar pre-mission tension that every operator learned to manage and channel into focused performance. Jackson moved quietly beside her, his own equipment arranged with a methodical precision that came from years of combat experience. "Remember, Santos," Jackson whispered as they prepared to move out. "This isn't just about making shots. Urban operations require constant communication and situational awareness. The enemy will try to flank us, civilians might panic and run into our line of fire, and the assault team will be counting on us to keep them informed about what's happening." Maria nodded, understanding that Jackson was sharing hard-earned wisdom rather than simply repeating training doctrine. The difference between training exercises and combat operations lay in the countless variables that couldn't be scripted or predicted, requiring operators to think critically and adapt their tactics in real time. The infiltration began before sunrise, with Maria and Jackson moving through a series of abandoned buildings and empty lots that simulated the approach to their overwatch position. Enemy sentries, played by instructors from the base's training cadre, had been positioned throughout the area with orders to challenge anyone they detected moving through their sector. Maria found herself impressed by the realism of the scenario. The instructors were using night vision equipment and had established overlapping fields of observation that would catch any team that moved carelessly or failed to properly analyze the terrain. This wasn't a simple shooting exercise, but a complex tactical problem that required stealth, patience, and careful planning. Jackson led them through a drainage ditch that provided concealment from the primary sentry positions, but Maria noticed movement in a second-story window that suggested the enemy had established a backup observation post. She tapped Jackson's shoulder and pointed toward the potential threat, using hand signals to communicate without breaking radio silence. Jackson studied the building through his binoculars, confirming Maria's assessment. The enemy position would have a clear line of sight to their planned route, requiring them to find an alternative approach or risk detection. He made quick calculations, weighing the time cost of detouring around the threat against the risk of compromising the entire mission. Using carefully rehearsed hand signals, Jackson indicated a new route that would take them through a series of concrete barriers and abandoned vehicles. The path would require them to low crawl for nearly 200 meters, but it would keep them concealed from all known enemy positions. Maria followed Jackson through the obstacle course of urban debris, her rifle carefully protected from dirt and moisture that could affect its accuracy during the upcoming precision shooting phase. The weight of her equipment made the movement challenging, but she had trained extensively for these conditions and maintained the slow, steady pace that Jackson set. 20 minutes later, they reached the base of their target building without detection. Jackson had selected the structure because its height and position provided excellent observation of the terrorist stronghold, while offering multiple escape routes if they were discovered and needed to withdraw under fire. The building's rear entrance had been left unlocked for the exercise, but Jackson still checked for booby traps and alarm systems that might alert the enemy to their presence. Finding nothing suspicious, he led Maria up 4 flights of stairs to the roof access, where they would establish their hide site among the building's air conditioning units and communication equipment. As they began setting up their position, Maria was struck by how different this felt from the previous day's shooting demonstration. The controlled environment of a shooting range had been replaced by a complex tactical situation where marksmanship was just one component of mission success. Her ability to hit targets accurately would be meaningless if she and Jackson were detected before the operation began, or if she failed to properly coordinate with the assault team during the critical moments of the raid. Jackson positioned himself with his spotting scope and range-finding equipment, while Maria established her primary firing position behind her rifle. The distance to the target building was approximately 640 meters, well within her effective range, but requiring careful calculation of environmental factors like wind speed and direction. Overwatch in position. Jackson whispered into his radio, establishing communication with the assault team and the command post. Beginning surveillance phase. Through her rifle scope, Maria began the methodical process of studying the target building and identifying potential threats. The structure was a typical Middle Eastern urban design, with flat roofs, small windows, and multiple access points that would complicate any assault operation. Within the first 15 minutes of observation, Maria had identified 3 enemy sentries. One was positioned on the roof with what appeared to be an assault rifle, while 2 others were visible through ground floor windows. Their positioning suggested a defensive plan designed to channel attackers into killing zones where the defenders would have significant advantages. "I count 3 visible hostiles," Maria reported quietly into her radio headset. "Roof sentry with AK pattern rifle, 2 ground floor positions covering the main approaches." Jackson recorded the information on his tactical notebook while continuing his own surveillance through the spotting scope. His job was to provide Maria with detailed information about range, wind conditions, and target priorities while maintaining awareness of the overall tactical situation. "Assault team, this is Overwatch," Jackson transmitted. "We have 3 confirmed enemy positions. Recommend holding for complete surveillance before making your approach." The assault team leader, Commander Mitchell himself, acknowledged the transmission and confirmed that his 8-man element would remain in their staging area until Overwatch completed the intelligence gathering phase. Mitchell had decided to personally lead the assault team to better evaluate how Maria would perform under the pressure of supporting real teammates in a dynamic tactical situation. As the morning progressed, Maria's patience and attention to detail revealed additional enemy positions that hadn't been immediately apparent. A 4th fighter was identified moving between rooms on the 2nd floor, and a 5th was spotted briefly in a window that provided overwatch of the building's rear entrance. "Revised count," Maria reported. 5 confirmed hostiles. Roof position, 2 ground floor, 1 second floor mobile, 1 rear security. The intelligence picture was becoming clearer, but Maria knew that enemy fighters often remained hidden until the shooting started. Her job would be to quickly identify and engage new threats as they appeared while maintaining precise fire discipline to avoid hitting any civilians who might be present in the building. Jackson had been monitoring radio communications from the assault team and command post, keeping track of the overall mission timeline and any changes to the tactical plan. The original schedule called for the assault to begin at precisely 1000 hours, but the discovery of additional enemy positions had prompted a delay while Mitchell adjusted his team's approach route. "Santos," Jackson whispered, "when the shooting starts, your priority targets are the roof sentry and anyone with crew-served weapons. The assault team can handle the close-range stuff, but those long-range threats could pin them down before they reach the building." Maria acknowledged the guidance while continuing her surveillance. She had identified the specific windows and positions where enemy fighters were most likely to appear, and she had mentally rehearsed the engagement sequence she would use to neutralize threats as quickly as possible. At 9:55, Jackson received the final preparatory command from Mitchell. Overwatch. Assault team is moving to final positions. Stand by for execute order. Maria's breathing slowed as she settled behind her rifle, her finger resting lightly on the trigger guard. The Barrett scope was focused on the rooftop sentry, who remained unaware that he was being observed from 600 meters away. In 5 minutes, Maria would discover whether all her training had prepared her for the reality of providing precision fire support to operators whose lives depended on her accuracy. All teams, came Mitchell's voice over the radio. Execute, execute, execute. The assault team broke from concealment and began their approach to the target building, moving in coordinated bounds that would carry them across the open ground while providing mutual support. Maria tracked their movement through her peripheral vision while keeping her primary focus on the enemy positions she had identified during the surveillance phase. The roof sentry was the first to react to the assault team's movement, raising his rifle and preparing to engage the approaching SEALs. Maria's crosshairs were already centered on the target's chest, and she squeezed the trigger with the same smooth control she had demonstrated during the previous day's shooting exercise. The .50 caliber round covered the 600-meter distance in less than a second, striking the sentry center mass and eliminating the threat before he could fire a single shot. Through her scope, Maria immediately shifted to scan for additional targets, while Jackson spotted the impact and confirmed the hit. Roof sentry down, Jackson reported, scanning for additional threats. 2 enemy fighters appeared simultaneously in ground floor windows, both attempting to engage the assault team with automatic weapons fire. Maria's training took over as she prioritized the targets based on their threat level to the approaching SEALs. The fighter on the left had a clear line of sight to Mitchell's team, while the one on the right was partially blocked by debris. Her second shot eliminated the more dangerous threat, and she immediately shifted to engage the second fighter before he could adjust his position for a better shot at the assault team. The rapid engagement of multiple targets required precise scope manipulation and perfect trigger control, skills that could only be developed through thousands of hours of training. 2 ground floor threats neutralized, Maria reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. Jackson had been tracking the movement of the assault team while monitoring Maria's engagements, ensuring that her fires were being effectively coordinated with the ground element's advance. The precision and speed of her shooting was allowing Mitchell's team to move faster than they had originally planned, reducing their exposure to enemy fire. Outstanding shooting, Santos, Jackson said quietly. Keep scanning. There's still movement on the second floor. As if summoned by his words, the mobile fighter Maria had identified earlier appeared in a second-floor window with what looked like a rocket-propelled grenade launcher. The weapon posed a devastating threat to the assault team, which was now within 50 meters of the building and couldn't quickly disperse to avoid the blast radius. Maria's fourth shot of the engagement shattered the window and eliminated the RPG threat just as the fighter was preparing to fire. The precision required to make an accurate shot through a window at that distance, while the target was moving and partially concealed, demonstrated a level of skill that impressed even Jackson, who had worked with some of the military's best snipers. RPG threat eliminated, Maria called out, already searching for the 5th fighter she had spotted during the surveillance phase. The remaining enemy combatant had taken cover in the building's rear area and was attempting to flank the assault team as they prepared to breach the front entrance. Maria couldn't see the target directly, but Jackson had identified movement and was providing guidance on where the threat was likely to appear. Watch the rear corner, ground level, Jackson whispered. He's moving toward the back door. Maria adjusted her position slightly, aiming at the spot where Jackson's experience suggested the enemy fighter would emerge. When the target appeared exactly where predicted, her 5th shot of the engagement ended the threat before he could get within effective range of the assault team. All identified threats neutralized, Maria reported. Assault team has clear approach to the building. Commander Mitchell's voice came over the radio with approval and relief. Outstanding support, Overwatch. We're breaching now. Maintain surveillance for any additional threats. As the assault team entered the building to capture the high-value target and secure any civilians, Maria kept her rifle trained on the windows and potential escape routes. The mission wasn't complete until Mitchell's team was safely out of the building with their objective accomplished. Jackson had been timing the engagement from the moment the assault began, and he was impressed by both the speed and accuracy of Maria's shooting. 5 targets engaged and eliminated in less than 3 minutes, all at distances exceeding 600 meters, while coordinating with a ground assault team and maintaining situational awareness of a complex urban battlefield. Santos, Jackson said, his voice carrying a respect that hadn't been there the previous day. That was some of the best tactical shooting I've ever seen. You just made believers out of everyone on this team. 3 weeks after the training exercise that had earned Maria her place on SEAL Team 7, the unit received deployment orders to Afghanistan. The mission briefing took place in a secure conference room at Naval Special Warfare Command, where intelligence analysts laid out a situation that would test every skill the team had developed during years of combat operations. Taliban forces had seized control of a strategic valley in Helmand province, establishing a fortified compound that threatened coalition supply routes and served as a staging area for attacks on nearby villages. The enemy had learned from previous encounters with special operations forces, creating layered defenses and establishing multiple fallback positions that would make any assault extremely dangerous. Commander Mitchell studied the reconnaissance photos spread across the briefing table, noting the sophisticated defensive arrangements that the enemy had constructed. Machine gun nests covered all the obvious approach routes, while sniper positions in surrounding hills provided overwatch of the entire valley. The Taliban had clearly invested significant time and resources in making this location as difficult to assault as possible. Intelligence estimates between 20 and 30 fighters in the main compound, the briefing officer explained, using a laser pointer to highlight key features on the aerial photographs. They've got crew-served weapons, mortars, and at least one technical vehicle with a mounted heavy machine gun. Early morning satellite imagery shows they're holding approximately 15 local villagers as human shields. Chief Rodriguez had been studying the terrain features around the target compound, looking for positions that would provide his sniper team with effective fields of fire while maintaining sufficient concealment and cover. The valley's geography offered several possibilities, but each came with significant risks and limitations. The enemy's got 3 sniper positions of their own, Rodriguez noted, pointing to rocky outcroppings that provided commanding views of the surrounding area. Any team trying to establish Overwatch is going to have to deal with those threats first or risk getting picked off before they can provide effective support. Maria listened to the tactical discussion while studying the mission parameters and constraints. The presence of civilian hostages complicated every aspect of the operation, requiring precise identification of targets and careful fire control to avoid tragic mistakes. The enemy's defensive preparations suggested they were expecting an attack and had positioned themselves to maximize casualties among any assault force. Lieutenant Park had been assigned as the mission commander for this operation, his first time leading SEAL Team 7 in combat. The young officer understood the weight of responsibility that came with the position, knowing that every decision he made could determine whether his teammates return home safely. The assault will be a 2-phase operation, Park announced, outlining the tactical plan that had been developed in coordination with higher headquarters. Phase 1 involves neutralizing the enemy sniper positions and reducing their ability to observe our approach. Phase 2 is a coordinated assault on the main compound, with precision fire support from our Overwatch positions. Maria would be paired with Petty Officer Williams for this mission, combining her long-range shooting skills with his expertise in communications and forward air control. The two had worked together extensively during the training period following her acceptance into the team, developing the kind of mutual trust and understanding that was essential for effective sniper operations. Williams had initially been skeptical of Maria's abilities, but her performance during training exercises had convinced him that she possessed the tactical skills and mental toughness required for combat operations. His job would be to provide her with intelligence, coordinate fire support requests, and maintain communication with the assault teams while she focused on engaging priority targets. The helicopter insertion was scheduled for 0200 hours, under cover of darkness that would help conceal the team's approach to the target area. 2 MH-60 Black Hawks would carry the assault elements, while a smaller aircraft would insert Maria and Williams at an observation position approximately 1,000 meters from the enemy compound. Preparation for the mission consumed the next 48 hours as team members checked and rechecked their equipment, studied the intelligence reports, and rehearsed their individual assignments. Maria spent hours analyzing the ballistic tables for her rifle, calculating the precise adjustments needed to account for the altitude, temperature, and atmospheric conditions they would encounter in the Afghan mountains. The flight to the target area took place through darkness so complete that the helicopter pilots relied entirely on night vision systems and GPS navigation. Maria sat quietly in the aircraft's cargo bay, running through mental rehearsals of the engagement sequences she might need to execute once the mission began. Williams sat beside her, monitoring radio frequencies and coordinating with the other aircraft in their formation. His combat experience in Iraq had taught him the importance of maintaining situational awareness during every phase of an operation, from insertion through extraction. 5 minutes out, the helicopter's crew chief announced over the intercom, "Weather's clear, no visible ground activity in the landing zone." The landing zone was a small clearing approximately 2 kilometers from the enemy compound, chosen for its concealment and the covered approach routes it offered to the observation position Rodriguez had selected during mission planning. The terrain was typical of the Afghan mountains, with rocky slopes and sparse vegetation that would provide camouflage for properly equipped operators. Maria and Williams exited the helicopter quickly, immediately moving away from the landing zone to avoid presenting a target if enemy forces had detected the aircraft's approach. The Black Hawk departed within 30 seconds, leaving them alone in hostile territory with nothing but their equipment, their training, and their mutual trust. The movement to their observation position required 3 hours of careful navigation through terrain that seemed designed to twist ankles and tear equipment. Williams led the way, using night vision equipment to identify the safest route, while Maria followed, protecting her rifle from the rocks and thorns that threatened to damage its delicate optics. They reached their hide site just as the eastern horizon began to show the first hints of dawn. The position Rodriguez had selected was perfect for their mission, offering clear lines of sight to all 3 enemy sniper positions while providing excellent concealment among the rocks and scrub vegetation. Maria began establishing her primary shooting position while Williams set up his observation equipment and communication systems. The range to the nearest enemy sniper position was 870 meters, while the farthest was nearly 1,200 meters away. Both distances were well within Maria's capabilities, but the extreme range shots would require perfect execution under combat conditions. Overwatch in position, Williams whispered into his radio, establishing communication with Lieutenant Park and the assault teams that were moving into their staging areas. Beginning surveillance of enemy positions. Through her rifle scope, Maria studied the 3 sniper positions that had been identified in the intelligence briefing. The enemy had chosen their locations well, selecting rocky outcroppings that provided both concealment and commanding views of the surrounding terrain. Engaging them would require careful timing and precise shot placement to prevent any of the enemy snipers from alerting their comrades. The leftmost position was occupied by 2 fighters, one with a scoped rifle and another serving as a spotter. They were positioned behind a natural rock formation that would provide excellent protection from return fire, but Maria could see enough of the primary sniper to make an effective shot if the angle was correct. The center position held a single sniper with what appeared to be a Russian-made Dragunov rifle. This fighter had positioned himself with a clear view of the main approach route that the assault teams would need to use, making him the highest priority target for the opening phase of the operation. The rightmost position was the most heavily fortified, with 3 fighters and what looked like a light machine gun in addition to their precision rifles. This position would require multiple shots to neutralize completely, and Maria would need to engage them quickly to prevent effective return fire. "I have eyes on all 3 enemy sniper positions," Maria reported quietly. Total of 6 fighters, mixed small arms, and 1 possible crew-served weapon. Williams recorded the intelligence while continuing his own surveillance through high-powered binoculars. His job was to provide Maria with detailed information about wind conditions, target movement, and any other factors that might affect her shooting accuracy. Lieutenant Park's voice came over the radio with the preparatory command that would begin the operation. "All teams, this is 6. Assault elements are in position. Overwatch, you are cleared to engage enemy sniper positions on my command." Maria settled behind her rifle, checking her scope settings one final time while controlling her breathing and heart rate. The next few minutes would determine whether the assault teams could approach their objective without being detected and engaged by the enemy's long-range shooters. "Overwatch, you have execute authority, part transmitted. Engage when ready." Maria's first shot targeted the center sniper position, the fighter who posed the greatest threat to the assault team's approach route. The distance was just over 900 meters, requiring precise calculation of bullet drop and wind drift to ensure a first-round hit. The .300 Winchester Magnum round she had selected for this mission was perfectly suited for the extreme range engagements she would need to make. The bullet's ballistic coefficient and muzzle velocity would maintain lethal energy at the distances she was shooting, while the rifle's precision would allow her to place shots within inches of her intended point of impact. Her rifle recoiled smoothly as the round left the barrel, and through her scope she watched the bullet's impact eliminate the center sniper before he had any opportunity to react. The suppressor on her rifle had reduced the sound signature significantly, but Maria knew that the remaining enemy snipers would soon realize they were under attack. She immediately shifted her aim to the leftmost position, where 2 fighters were beginning to search for the source of the shot that had killed their comrade. Maria's second shot took the primary sniper, while Williams called out corrections for the wind conditions that were affecting bullet trajectory. The spotter in the left position began to panic, abandoning his concealed position and exposing himself as he tried to locate the threat. Maria's third shot eliminated him before he could alert the fighters in the compound below or call for reinforcements. Left and center positions neutralized, Maria reported while shifting her rifle toward the most heavily defended position on the right side of the valley. The remaining 3 enemy fighters had identified the general direction of Maria's shots and were attempting to return fire with their machine gun and rifles. Their shots were falling well short of Maria and Williams' position, but the muzzle flashes from their weapons provided perfect target reference points for precision counter-sniper fire. Maria's 4th shot eliminated the machine gunner, while her 5th and 6th shots neutralized the remaining riflemen before they could adjust their aim or call for support from the main compound. The entire engagement had lasted less than 4 minutes, and all 6 enemy snipers had been eliminated without any of them successfully engaging Maria's position or alerting their comrades in the valley below. "All enemy sniper positions neutralized," Maria reported. "Assault teams have clear approach routes." Lieutenant Park acknowledged the transmission and gave the order for the assault elements to begin their movement toward the compound. With the long-range threats eliminated, his teams could approach their objective without fear of being engaged by enemy marksmen before they reached their assault positions. Williams had been monitoring communications between the assault teams and coordinating with aircraft that were standing by to provide additional fire support if needed. The elimination of the enemy sniper positions had gone according to plan, but both he and Maria knew that the most dangerous phase of the operation was just beginning. "Outstanding shooting," Williams said quietly as they prepared for the next phase of their mission. 6 targets, 6 hits, no return fire. The assault teams owe you a debt for that. Maria continued scanning the compound through her rifle scope, looking for additional threats that might emerge as the ground teams approached their objective. Her role in the mission was far from over, and she knew that the enemy fighters in the main compound would soon realize they were under attack and attempt to mount a coordinated defense. The sound of automatic weapons fire from the valley below indicated that the assault had begun in earnest. Maria and Williams would now provide precision fire support for their teammates, while maintaining overwatch of the surrounding area to prevent enemy reinforcements from affecting the outcome of the battle. Through her scope, Maria could see muzzle flashes from the compound as the enemy fighters engaged the approaching SEAL teams. Her job was to identify and eliminate the most dangerous threats while avoiding any shots that might endanger the civilian hostages who were being held somewhere within the fortified position. The real test of her abilities was just beginning, as close-quarters urban combat required a level of precision and fire discipline that went far beyond the long-range engagement she had just completed. Every shot would need to be carefully considered and perfectly executed, with the lives of both her teammates and innocent civilians hanging in the balance. The dawn air erupted with the sound of automatic weapons fire as SEAL Team 7's assault elements engaged the enemy compound. Through her rifle scope, Maria could see muzzle flashes erupting from multiple positions within the fortified Taliban stronghold, indicating that the defenders were mounting a coordinated resistance despite the loss of their sniper overwatch. Lieutenant Park's voice crackled through the radio headset as he coordinated the assault from his command position. Overwatch, I need immediate suppression of that machine gun position in the northwest tower. My teams are pinned down 50 meters from the main gate. Williams quickly located the position Park was describing, using his high-powered spotting scope to identify the threat that was preventing the assault teams from advancing. A crew-served weapon had been positioned in a reinforced tower that provided commanding fields of fire across the compound's main approaches. Target identified, Williams reported to Maria. Northwest tower, second floor, heavy machine gun crew. Range approximately 1,050 meters. Maria adjusted her scope's elevation to account for the extended distance, while calculating the wind corrections needed for an accurate shot. The target was partially concealed behind concrete barriers, but she could see enough of the machine gunner to make an effective engagement. Her seventh shot of the mission struck the machine gunner center mass, immediately silencing the weapon that had been pinning down Commander Mitchell's assault element. The precision required to make such a shot at over 1,000 meters, while friendly forces were engaged in close combat nearby, demonstrated the level of skill that separated elite military snipers from ordinary marksmen. Machine gun threat neutralized, Maria reported while scanning for additional targets. Assault teams have freedom of movement to the main gate. The elimination of the machine gun position allowed Mitchell's team to advance toward the compound's primary entrance, but Williams could see additional enemy fighters moving to defensive positions throughout the complex. The Taliban had clearly prepared for this kind of assault, establishing multiple fallback positions and interlocking fields of fire that would make each building a separate battle. Through her rifle scope, Maria observed enemy fighters attempting to establish a new defensive line near what appeared to be the compound's main administrative building. Intelligence reports had suggested that the high-value target they were seeking would likely be found in this structure, along with the civilian hostages who were being held as human shields. I count 4 fighters moving toward the central building, Maria transmitted. They appear to be carrying RPGs and automatic weapons. The rocket-propelled grenade launchers posed a significant threat to the assault teams, which were operating in relatively open terrain with limited cover available. Maria prioritized these targets while maintaining awareness of the strict rules of engagement that govern the use of precision fires in areas where civilians might be present. Her 8th shot eliminated the first RPG gunner before he could reach a firing position, while her 9th shot neutralized a second fighter who was carrying additional ammunition for the crew-served weapons. The remaining 2 enemy combatants took cover behind a concrete wall, temporarily preventing Maria from engaging them without risking damage to the building where hostages were believed to be held. 2 RPG threats down, Maria reported. Remaining fighters are using the main building for cover. Cannot engage without risk to civilian hostages. Lieutenant Park acknowledged the transmission while coordinating with Chief Rodriguez, who was leading one of the assault elements through the compound's eastern approach. The presence of civilian hostages complicated every aspect of the tactical situation, requiring the SEAL teams to clear each building methodically rather than using the explosive breaching techniques that would have simplified their task. Williams had been monitoring communications from multiple assault teams while providing Maria with target updates and environmental information. His experience as a forward air controller had taught him how to coordinate various fire support assets while maintaining awareness of the overall tactical situation. Santos, Rodriguez's team, is about to breach the eastern building, Williams informed her. They're requesting overwatch coverage in case enemy fighters try to escape through the rear windows. Maria shifted her rifle toward the eastern building, where Rodriguez was preparing to lead his 4-man element through what appeared to be a workshop or storage facility. The structure had multiple windows and exit points that could allow enemy fighters to escape or launch surprise attacks against the assault team. As Rodriguez's team prepared to enter the building, Maria observed movement in several of the upper-story windows. Enemy fighters were attempting to establish ambush positions that would allow them to engage the SEAL team from above as they clear the ground floor rooms. 2 fighters in the second-floor windows, Maria reported. Northeast and southeast corners of the eastern building. Rodriguez acknowledged the intelligence while positioning his team for the breach. The presence of enemy fighters in the upper levels meant that his team would be walking into a potential crossfire situation, with threats both above and potentially ahead as they moved through the building. Maria's 10th shot shattered the northeast window and eliminated the fighter who had been preparing to fire down on Rodriguez's team. She immediately shifted to engage the second threat, but this fighter had observed her muzzle flash and was attempting to take cover while maintaining a firing position. Her 11th shot caught the second enemy combatant as he tried to reposition, preventing him from engaging Rodriguez's team as they entered the building. The precision timing required to provide this kind of close support, while distinguishing between friendly and enemy forces at over 1,000 meters distance, showcased the advanced training and natural ability that had earned Maria her place on the team. Eastern building upper floor clear, Maria reported. Rodriguez's team can proceed without overhead threats. The sound of explosions from within the eastern building indicated that Rodriguez's team was using controlled charges to breach interior doors and walls, methodically clearing each room while searching for additional enemy fighters or intelligence materials. Williams monitored their progress through his radio equipment while Maria maintained overwatch of the surrounding area. Commander Mitchell's assault element had reached the main gate and was preparing to enter the central compound where the high-value target and civilian hostages were believed to be located. This phase of the operation would require the most careful coordination, as any mistake could result in civilian casualties or allow the target to escape. Overwatch, I need detailed intelligence on the main building before we breach, Mitchell transmitted. Can you identify enemy positions without compromising the hostages? Maria began a systematic scan of the main building, using her rifle scope's magnification to peer through windows and identify potential threats. The structure was larger and more complex than the other buildings in the compound, with multiple stories and numerous rooms that could conceal enemy fighters. I observed movement on the second floor, west side, Maria reported after several minutes of careful observation. Appears to be armed personnel, but I cannot confirm whether civilians are present in the same area. Williams had been studying the building's layout using architectural diagrams that had been included in the mission intelligence package. His analysis suggested that the hostages were most likely being held in the building's central rooms, away from windows that might allow them to signal for help or attempt to escape. Based on the building layout, the hostages are probably in the interior rooms, Williams advised Mitchell. The fighters Santos observed are likely providing security for the main target rather than guarding civilians directly. This assessment allowed Mitchell to develop a more aggressive approach to the final assault phase. If the enemy fighters were concentrated in specific areas of the building, his team could breach through multiple entry points simultaneously, overwhelming the defenders before they could harm the hostages or allow the high-value target to escape. "Copy that assessment," Mitchell replied. "We're going in through 3 entry points. Continue Overwatch and engage any threats that present themselves during our approach." As Mitchell's team prepared for the final assault, Maria observed additional enemy activity around the compound's perimeter. Several fighters who had been concealed in outlying buildings were attempting to move toward the main structure, possibly to reinforce the defenders or help their leader escape through a rear exit. Multiple enemy personnel moving toward the main building from the south, Maria transmitted. Count of 4 fighters with small arms, attempting to use drainage ditches for concealment. The enemy reinforcements posed a significant threat to the success of the mission. If they reached the main building before Mitchell's team completed their breach, they could establish crossfires or create escape routes that would allow the high-value target to evade capture. Maria engaged the lead fighter with her 12th shot of the mission, stopping the enemy reinforcement attempt before it could affect the main assault. Her 13th and 14th shots eliminated 2 additional fighters, while the 4th enemy combatant sought cover in a concrete culvert that blocked Maria's line of sight. 3 reinforcement threats neutralized, Maria reported. 1 remaining fighter in cover, unable to engage without collateral damage to infrastructure. Williams had been calculating ammunition expenditure and mission timeline while coordinating with Lieutenant Park about the overall operational status. Maria had fired 14 rounds since the mission began, an extraordinary number of engagements for a single sniper over such a short period, while maintaining perfect accuracy under combat conditions. "Outstanding work, Santos," Williams said quietly as they prepared for the final phase of the operation. 14 targets engaged, 14 confirmed kills. "You're making history today." The sound of breaching charges from a main building indicated that Mitchell's team had begun their assault on the primary objective. Maria maintained overwatch of the surrounding area while listening to the radio communications that would tell her whether the mission had been successful. "Target secured. Hostages safe," came Mitchell's voice over the radio 20 minutes later. "High-value individual in custody. 15 civilians rescued unharmed. Compound is secure." Maria felt a surge of relief and accomplishment as she realized that her precision fire support had contributed to a completely successful mission. The combination of long-range shooting, tactical intelligence, and careful fire discipline had allowed SEAL Team 7 to accomplish their objectives without a single friendly casualty or civilian harm. The extraction helicopter was already en route to their position as Maria and Williams prepared to leave their observation post. The mission had lasted just over 6 hours from insertion to completion, but Maria's 14 confirmed eliminations had removed the primary threats that could have turned a successful operation into a disaster. As they prepared to move to the extraction point, Williams took a moment to record the details of Maria's shooting performance for the post-mission report. 14 enemy combatants eliminated at ranges from 800 to 1,200 meters, all while providing precision fire support for multiple assault teams and maintaining perfect fire discipline around civilian populations. "You know what this means, don't you?" Williams asked as they began packing their equipment for the move to the landing zone. Maria looked up from securing her rifle, uncertain what Williams was referring to. 14 confirmed kills in one mission, Williams continued. "That's a record for any sniper supporting SEAL operations in Afghanistan. You're going to be a legend after this." 6 months after the mission that had established Maria Santos as one of the most effective snipers in naval special warfare, SEAL Team 7 found themselves facing their most challenging operation yet. Intelligence had identified a heavily fortified Taliban command compound in the mountains near the Pakistani border, where a high-ranking terrorist leader was coordinating attacks throughout the region. The target compound was unlike anything the team had encountered during their previous deployments. Built into the side of a mountain and protected by multiple layers of defensive positions, the facility had been designed specifically to withstand assault by Special Operations Forces. Satellite imagery revealed machine gun nests, mortar positions, and sniper hides that covered every possible approach route. Commander Mitchell stood before a detailed terrain model in the mission briefing room, pointing out the various defensive features that would make this operation extremely dangerous. The compound held an estimated 40 to 50 enemy fighters, many of them experienced veterans who had been fighting coalition forces for years. "This isn't going to be like our previous missions," Mitchell explained to the assembled team members. "The enemy has learned from our tactics, and they've built this place specifically to counter our capabilities. We're going to need perfect execution and a lot of luck to pull this off." Chief Rodriguez had been studying the intelligence reports for weeks, looking for weaknesses in the enemy's defensive plan. The compound's position on the mountainside provided excellent protection, but it also limited the defenders' ability to maneuver or retreat if their positions were compromised. "The key to this operation is eliminating their long-range threats before we get within effective range," Rodriguez explained. "Intelligence has identified at least 6 sniper positions covering the approaches, plus crew-serve weapons that could pin down our assault teams." Lieutenant Park had been promoted to full lieutenant after the success of their previous mission, and he would be leading this operation as the overall mission commander. The complexity of the target required careful coordination between multiple assault elements, air support, and precision fire teams. "We'll be inserting 2 sniper teams for this mission," Park announced. "Santos and Williams will establish overwatch from the north, while Rodriguez and Chun take the southern approach. The assault teams won't move until both sniper teams have neutralized the long-range threats." Maria felt the familiar pre-mission tension as she studied the photographs of the target compound. The enemy sniper positions were expertly concealed among the rocks and scrub vegetation, requiring careful observation and perfect shot placement to eliminate them without alerting the remaining defenders. The helicopter insertion took place during a moonless night that provided excellent concealment for the approaching aircraft. Maria and Williams were dropped at a landing zone 3 kilometers from the target, requiring them to move through difficult mountain terrain while carrying their equipment and maintaining complete noise discipline. The movement to their observation position took nearly 4 hours as they navigated around enemy patrol routes and potential observation posts. Williams led the way using night vision equipment, while Maria protected her rifle from the rocks and thorns that could damage its precision optics. They reached their hide site just before dawn, establishing their position among a cluster of boulders that provided excellent concealment and multiple escape routes if they were discovered. The range to the nearest enemy position was approximately 900 meters, while the farthest targets were nearly 1,500 meters away. "Overwatch north in position," Williams whispered into his radio, establishing communication with Park and the assault teams. Beginning surveillance of target area. Through her rifle scope, Maria began the methodical process of identifying and cataloging the enemy positions that intelligence had briefed them about. The Taliban fighters had done an excellent job of camouflaging their defensive positions, making them difficult to spot even with high-powered optics. The first sniper position she identified was located in a natural cave approximately 1,000 meters away. 2 fighters were visible, one with a scoped rifle and another with binoculars who appeared to be serving as a spotter. Their position provided commanding views of the primary approach route that the assault teams would need to use. A second position was established among a pile of boulders at 1,200 meters, where a single sniper had created an excellent hide that would be nearly impossible to detect from ground level. Only the glint of sunlight off his rifle scope had revealed his location to Maria's trained eye. The third position was the most concerning, located at nearly 1,500 meters in a position that provided overwatch of both the northern and southern approaches to the compound. This sniper would be able to engage either of the SEAL sniper teams if they were detected, making him the highest priority target for the opening phase of the operation. I have positive identification on 3 enemy sniper positions, Maria reported quietly. Ranges from 1,000 to 1,500 meters. All positions are well concealed and provide excellent fields of fire. Rodriguez's voice came over the radio from the southern observation point, where he and Chun had established their own Overwatch position. Overwatch South confirms 3 additional positions on this side. We're looking at a coordinated defense that's going to require simultaneous engagement. The complexity of the defensive arrangement meant that any assault team approaching the compound would face fire from multiple directions, with the enemy snipers providing mutual support and overlapping fields of observation. Eliminating all 6 positions would require perfect timing and extraordinary marksmanship from both sniper teams. Lieutenant Park had been monitoring the intelligence reports from both Overwatch positions while coordinating with the assault teams and air support elements. The presence of 6 enemy sniper positions was more than originally estimated, requiring him to adjust the tactical plan to account for the increased threat level. Both Overwatch teams stand by for synchronized engagement, Park transmitted. We need all 6 enemy positions neutralized within a 60-second window to prevent them from alerting the main compound. Maria settled behind her rifle, adjusting her scope settings for the extreme range shots she would need to make. The .338 Lapua Magnum rifle she had selected for this mission was specifically designed for ultra-long-range precision shooting, capable of maintaining lethal accuracy at distances exceeding 1,500 meters. Williams had been calculating wind conditions and atmospheric factors that would affect bullet trajectory at the extended ranges they were engaging. The mountain environment created complex wind patterns that required constant adjustment and careful observation to compensate for properly. Wind is variable, 3 to 7 miles per hour from the northwest, Williams reported. Atmospheric pressure is low due to altitude. Recommend adding 2 clicks of elevation for the long-range shots. Maria made the adjustments to her scope settings while maintaining her sight picture on the farthest enemy position. The 1,500-meter shot would require perfect execution, as any miss would alert the remaining enemy snipers and compromise the entire operation. All teams stand by, came Park's voice over the radio. Synchronized engagement in 30 seconds. Maria controlled her breathing and heart rate while maintaining her aim on the distant target. The enemy sniper was barely visible among the rocks, but she could see enough of his outline to make an accurate shot if her calculations were correct. Execute, 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 Park commanded. Maria's first shot of the engagement was also the most challenging, sending a .338 caliber round across 1,500 meters of mountain terrain to eliminate the enemy's most dangerous sniper position. Through her scope, she watched the target fall as her bullet found its mark with devastating precision. She immediately shifted to engage the second position at 1,200 meters, where the concealed sniper was beginning to search for the source of the gunfire that had eliminated his comrade. Maria's second shot silenced this threat before he could identify her position or alert the remaining defenders. Her third engagement targeted the cave position at 1,000 meters, where 2 enemy fighters were attempting to coordinate a response to the attack on their fellow snipers. Maria's shot eliminated the primary sniper, while Williams called out corrections for the changing wind conditions. 3 targets down, Maria reported while scanning for additional threats. No return fire observed. Rodriguez's voice confirmed that he and Chen had successfully engaged their assigned targets as well. Overwatch South reports 3 enemy positions neutralized. All identified long-range threats have been eliminated. The synchronized elimination of all 6 enemy sniper positions had been completed in less than 90 seconds, clearing the way for the assault teams to begin their approach to the compound. The precision and coordination required to accomplish this feat demonstrated the level of training and expertise that SEAL Team 7 had developed through years of combat operations. Lieutenant Park gave the order for the assault teams to begin their movement toward the target compound, but Maria's mission was far from over. As the ground elements advanced, additional enemy threats would undoubtedly emerge from the fortified positions throughout the complex. Through her rifle scope, Maria observed movement near what appeared to be a mortar position on the compound's eastern side. Enemy fighters were attempting to bring the indirect fire weapon into action against the approaching SEAL teams, requiring immediate intervention from the overwatch positions. Mortar crew observed, eastern side of compound, Maria transmitted. Engaging immediately. Her fourth shot of the mission eliminated the mortar gunner before he could drop a round into the tube, while her fifth shot neutralized the assistant gunner who was preparing additional ammunition. The precision required to make these shots while friendly forces were approaching the target area required extraordinary skill and fire discipline. The assault teams had reached the outer perimeter of the compound and were beginning their breach operations, but enemy fighters throughout the complex were mounting a determined defense. Machine gun positions opened fire from multiple locations, creating crossfires that threatened to pin down the advancing SEAL teams. Williams had been tracking the movement of the assault elements while identifying priority targets for Maria's precision fires. His experience in coordinating fire support allowed him to prioritize threats based on their immediate danger to friendly forces rather than simply engaging targets of opportunity. Heavy machine gun position, Northwest Tower, Williams called out. They're engaging Mitchell's team at the main gate. Maria's six shots silenced the machine gun that had been preventing Commander Mitchell's assault element from advancing toward their objective. The 800-meter shot required precise placement to eliminate the gunner without damaging the tower structure, which might contain intelligence materials or civilian personnel. Additional enemy fighters appeared throughout the compound as the assault teams pressed their attack, each requiring careful evaluation to determine whether they posed an immediate threat to friendly forces. Maria's training and combat experience allowed her to make these assessments quickly while maintaining the rapid rate of fire needed to support multiple assault teams simultaneously. Her 7th through 10th shots eliminated enemy fighters who were attempting to establish defensive positions that would have allowed them to engage the SEAL teams from protected locations. Each engagement required precise shot placement at ranges exceeding 800 meters, while maintaining awareness of friendly force locations and civilian safety considerations. The sound of explosions from within the compound indicated that the assault teams had reached the main buildings and were beginning their systematic clearing operations. Maria maintained overwatch of the surrounding area, while listening to radio communications that would indicate whether additional fire support was needed. Target building secured, came Mitchell's voice over the radio after 25 minutes of intense combat. High-value target in custody, intelligence materials recovered. Compound is under friendly control. Williams had been maintaining account of Maria's engagements throughout the mission, recording each shot for the post-mission intelligence report. 10 enemy combatants had been eliminated at extreme ranges, including the 6 synchronized sniper eliminations that had enabled the entire operation's success. 10 confirmed kills, Williams reported as they prepared to withdraw from their observation position. All shots at ranges exceeding 800 meters, including 3 at over 1,200 meters. Outstanding marksmanship under combat conditions. The extraction helicopter arrived at their pickup point 30 minutes later, carrying them away from the mountain battlefield, where Maria had once again demonstrated the precision shooting skills that had made her SEAL Team 7's most valuable asset. The mission had been a complete success, with the terrorist leader captured and his command structure disrupted. As they flew back to their forward operating base, Williams reviewed the mission statistics that would be included in the official report. Maria Santos had now accumulated 24 confirmed kills during 2 major combat operations, all while providing precision fire support that had enabled complex missions to succeed without friendly casualties. You realize what you've accomplished, don't you? Williams asked over the helicopter's intercom system. Maria looked up from checking her equipment, uncertain what he meant. 24 confirmed kills in 6 months of deployment, Williams explained. That's not just a record for female snipers. That's a record for any sniper supporting SEAL operations in this theater. You've redefined what's possible in precision fire support. Commander Mitchell, who was riding in the same helicopter after leading the successful assault on the compound, had overheard Williams' comments. As the team leader, Mitchell had initially been skeptical of adding a female sniper to his unit, but Maria's performance had exceeded every expectation. Santos, Mitchell said, his voice carrying the respect that came from shared combat experience. When we get back to base, I'm recommending you for the Navy Cross. What you did today and throughout this deployment represents the finest traditions of naval special warfare. Maria felt a surge of pride and accomplishment as she realized that she had not only earned acceptance from SEAL Team 7, but had established herself as one of the most effective military snipers of her generation. The journey from skeptical training exercises to combat legend had been challenging, but her dedication to excellence and unwavering commitment to her teammates had proven that skill and determination could overcome any obstacle. The helicopter carried them through the Afghan sunset toward their base, where Maria would begin preparing for the next mission that would require her unique combination of precision marksmanship and tactical expertise. SEAL Team 7 had found their perfect sniper, and she had found her true calling among the elite warriors who defended freedom through skill, courage, and unshakable loyalty to each other.